There's no debating it. Pep Guardiola is one of the greatest managers we have ever seen in football history. The man doesn't just win trophies, he builds indomitable super teams that dominate the game even against the best teams. He did it at Barcelona where his coaching career kicked off, he did it at Bayern Munich for a few years, and he has done it over and over again at Manchester City. Hate him or love him, you just have to admit that the man is one hell of a genius. But one thing that has put a little question mark over his greatness is his performance in the UEFA Champions League. If you claim to be the greatest, then you have to prove that by doing it in the biggest club competition on the continent. Yes, he has already won it twice already, which is more than most have been able to manage, to be honest. But with the super teams the man has built through the years at different clubs, fans and pundits from all around the world have expected more from him. The Spanish boss has failed to win the prestigious prize in more than a decade now, and he has also failed to win it without Lionel Messi on his team. And it is not for a lack of trying. You can tell Pep really wants to win the trophy again. He is always present in the competition, and he takes his teams far most of the time, but something just always happens. Since he joined Manchester City in 2016, he has had different opportunities to win the club its first ever UEFA Champions League trophy, but he has not been able to manage it. He got them to their first final in 2021, but Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea stood in his way. But just 2 years later, he's back there, and it's looking like this year could very well just be his year. Okay, yeah, that very statement has been said about Pep Guardiola and Man City for about 5 years now. It always seems like every new year is their year. But if you have actually been watching this club play so far this season, you'd know that they have looked very different this time around. How different? We'll tell you in a bit, just after you go and give the video a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button. Done? Let's now get back to it. First of all, Manchester City right now look like a more complete squad than they have ever looked. The introduction of Haaland in the summer was obviously a very wise move. The attack now has a focal point, and it's made all the better by the fact that the focal point is also a goal-scoring machine. Man City have always created a truckload of chances per game in the seasons before. All they needed was a proper finisher to get at the end of those chances. And where the likes of Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling failed in previous seasons, Erling Haaland is succeeding in this campaign. We have talked endlessly about the guy and his knack for scoring goals and breaking records, so no need to go into that again. City also did something really smart by signing Julian Alvarez. The World Cup winner is perhaps the best backup striker in the Premier League, and maybe even in the whole of Europe. He knows he won't be starting all the games, but when he's called upon, he always makes sure to deliver. And 21 goal contributions in just about 20 starts. Now, that's exactly how to deliver as a backup striker. His cameo in the Champions League semi against Madrid is just a perfect representation of how he's been all season. He came on with just 1 minute of normal time left on the clock and boom, goal. A very good purchase for Pep and City. Manuel Akanji has also proven to be a great addition in the defence. His versatility has really come in handy for Pep Guardiola this season. The former Dortmund man has played in centre-back, right-back and left-back this season, stepping into different positions to cover up for players who are injured or unavailable for whatever reason. So, I guess we could say that one thing that has brought Pep Guardiola this far this season is his recruitment last summer. Another thing is a change in tactic. This season, we have seen Pep use a box midfield more often than not, something we also see with Xavi's Barcelona. The only difference is that Xavi uses 4 pure midfielders, one of whom then plays as a false winger when the team attacks. Meanwhile, Pep uses a defender, usually Stones, as the extra man in midfield. The tactic has worked a treat this season, and it has helped Man City have even more dominance moving forward, and more defensive cover when they lose the ball. The tactic has been so effective that Klopp adopted it at Liverpool, having Trent play the Stones role, and they have also had a lot of joy with it. But as we know, it's not always enough for Pep to be tactically brilliant. He has always been, after all. But one problem he's had in previous seasons is doing too much tinkering with the tactic or the formation in the biggest games. But this season, we have seen none of that from the City boss. Quite early in the season, Pep chose his preferred 11 and he has stuck with it all the way through. Injuries to first-team players like Ake and De Bruyne have forced him to make some personnel changes, but that aside, we all know who Pep's first team really is. This is something we have not been able to see in previous seasons. Pep tinkered in the quarter-final game against Lyon back in 2020, tinkered in the final against Chelsea in 2021, and made premature changes in the semi-final leg against Real Madrid in 2022. All those decisions cost him dearly. But this time around, Pep Guardiola stuck to his guns in all the games, and they have yielded good results. The semi-final games against Madrid this season were the ones where we expected him to tinker the most, but that's where he was the most defiant. In the first leg, he didn't make a single change all game. And in the second, he made no change to the starting 11 and also waited till the game had been put to bed before making the in-game alterations. There was neither fear nor overconfidence in his game, and it paid off. Pep has obviously learned from his past errors, and that could very well lead him to the prize that has evaded him for so long now. And guess what? That prize could also come in a triple package. You know what they say, when it rains, it pours. City could very realistically complete the treble this season to become only the second English club ever to manage that. Pep could also become the only coach to win a European treble with two different teams. And to cap it all off, Pep Guardiola has the opportunity to equal the legacy of Alex Ferguson. The Premier League three-peat and the European treble in the same season. The noisy neighbours are about to get extra noisy. There are just so many motivations for Pep and Man City to go all out and do it all this season. The Premier League is already in the bag, so it's down to the Champions League final against Inter Milan and the FA Cup final against Manchester United. Two huge legacy-defining games. And considering it's their legacy on the line, we believe United will put up the greatest fight to try and spoil Pep's party. They have already beaten him once this season, so surely they believe that they can do it once again when it matters the most. But then, with the team the Spaniard has built and the tactics he has adopted, if he sticks to what's been working for him all season, we expect that he'd see it through and go ahead to have one of the greatest seasons ever in European football. But what do you think though? Will Pep Guardiola finally win the UEFA Champions League again after 12 years? Will he be able to bring the biggest trophy in club football to the Etihad for the first time ever? Will he become the first manager to complete the European treble with two different clubs, and maybe even a sextuple? Let us know what you think in the comments. Also, if the man manages to finally win the UEFA Champions League with Man City this season, where would you rank him in the list of greatest managers in Europe and in football history?